Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Board of Trustees meeting for the Tarrant County College District. Today is Thursday, August the 18th, 2022. I want to thank everyone that's been involved in the preparation of all of these documents. There's been a lot of effort and work put into the preparation of the budget, and we just want to, again, thank everyone. And also want to thank the Dr. LeBlanc and Ms. Alanis and all those that have been meeting with the trustees to go over a lot of this material to make sure that their questions are answered and addressed. So I want to thank you all for taking the time to do that. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we do have public comment. We have a Mr. Daniel Bennett. If you'd like to come to the front, please. Okay, yes, you have 3 minutes, Mr. Bennett. Thank you for coming. Yes. I'm going to turn your microphone on, Mr. Bennett. Okay. We'll let her, Mr.
It's as simple as pushing a button. Don't get me with those nuclear codes. Okay. My name's Daniel Bennett. I think I was here on the 9th, and I came on the 11th, and the meeting was canceled. And who's ever had their family, I don't know who's had family issues, but I hope everything's okay. And I know it's a tough road. And anyway. I addressed Ms. Wildman last time I was here, and I don't think maybe I was clear enough on all the different elements of her tenure as a TAD director and a TAD chairperson. So what I did, I have a list of 15 things, and I'll just be brief. I'll just pick a couple out. She seemed disinterested when attorney was brought to her attention that she got paid $32,370 a month as a retainer. That was bothersome. That attorney's been at TAD for, even Mr. Law said, we don't even know how she got here. She's just here when I got here. She tried to give a contract to a private entity, a large legal firm for over $1 million, and it wasn't even the agenda. It wasn't, the information wasn't even in the packet for the trustees or the directors. When staff recommendation was a $300,000 contract. These are some things that have come in the past. The legal budget at TAD has progressed anywhere from 34% to 49% since 2018. And this has never been investigated, and she doesn't seem that concerned her either. But there's a list here, and I'm going to give it for your reading pleasure for later. What I wanted really to address tonight, and this is kind of new to me, so I'm just now getting my wheels wet because it's been so dry. I want to talk about the local taxation and the TIFs. I went through the comptroller's website, and I counted the number of TIFs that you're involved in. And we had some expiring in 2018. We have some expiring in 2022. I just want to know, has this body did any investigation work for the standards set for those TIFs and the outcomes, and was it worth the taxpayers' money to be involved in those? I got the one right now, the Trinity River project, Central City. You know, they're going to extend that for 9 years to 2054. And I think that the ones that I really want you to focus on are the ones that are expiring 2020 and 2018. 209, which expires this year, I don't know when, 2022. And then it's TIF 205, also expires this year. And another one expired in 2018. It was with Arlington Highlands, and it was 198 is the TIF number. So I'm just curious about that. And if you've already done the research, I just want to do an open records request to get it. I want to know we're getting a bang for our buck. We're just not entering these agreements with these interlocal TIF agreements where we sit on these boards and then there's no accountability for the money. And some of it's really small money, and some are large money. I just want to make you all aware of that. Well, thank you for your time. and I really enjoy coming down here. I love this facility better than the other one up there by the convention center. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Gates, do we have any other comments? No one else? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item number 3 for board business items and announcements. We'll start off with item 3A, which is approval of special meeting of the Board of Trustees on June the 2nd of 2022. Are there any questions or comments on that? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Move to approve from Mr. Hornsby.
Second.
Second by Mr. Barr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 3B, we have the approval of Board of Trustees meeting minutes for June 23rd, 2022. Are there any questions or clarifications?
I make a
Otherwise, we'll
motion to approve.
Motion to approve for Mr. Greenhill.
Second.
A second by Mr. Hornsby. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 3C, approval of special meeting of the Board of Trustees minutes from June the 24th, 2022. Any questions or clarifications? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Ms. DeKine,
Second?
second by Mr. Greenhill. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And finally, 3D, approval of special meeting of the Board of Trustees for June 25th, 2022. Any questions or comments?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Greenhill,
Second.
second by Mr. Hornsby. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for those. All right, we'll go into item 3E, Trustee Activities. Guess we'll start out with Ms. Wood. Would you like to start out? I think you had something you wanted to report on. Thank you.
So I had the privilege of getting to attend the Basic Peace Officers Academy graduation on July 13th, and it was a very humbling process for me to see these beautiful cadets getting their I guess their penning after the ceremony. And it's a new thing they've been doing where the family members actually pin their new badges onto the officers, which was just, it was very, very emotional time, but really, really nice. I wanted to thank Stephen Keller, the Director of Public Safety Training, the Public Safety Training Center, for inviting me, and Damian Ng, he's the lead coordinator there of the law enforcement. They had a great group of cadets, and I have to say that morning they all took their test, and they all passed with flying colors, and they all have jobs. And a lot of them are here in Tarrant County. They're working for the Sheriff's Department. Some were, one was in Colleyville, and one was as far as Granbury. But all of these cadets, or I'm sorry, all of these officers do have jobs. So thank you guys. It was wonderful. Very proud of them.
Yes, that's wonderful. And that was over at the Northwest Campus, is that right?
It was actually at a church.
At the
Do you
church.
remember what church it was, Dr. LeBlanc? I don't remember. I forgot.
Oh, it was wonderful. That's
Yeah.
great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much, and congratulations to everyone. That is fantastic news. And congratulations, too, to the staff and the faculty that are training them, because I know that's a huge effort. So thank you for attending that, Ms. Wood. Is there anything else you'd like to report on? Okay, thank you. Mr. Kine?
Just very. Thank you. I just wanted to share that I've been able to attend a number of K through 12 back to school events during this week, and a special thank you to Mr. Gates and his team for fulfilling my dream of having many TCC pennants to distribute. So I've been able to take those to classrooms all over Arlington ISD, and everybody has been so responsive. So it's great to see teachers and administrators acknowledging the ways that they're connected to TCC, whether it's through their experience with dual credit, or as a place where they earn their associate's degree, or some sort of continuing education. So we're starting to see the TCC pennants go up all over classrooms across the Metroplex. So thank you for your support in that, Mr. Gates.
Thank you. That's wonderful news. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr.
I don't have anything specific to report, but I wanted to acknowledge that I'm very pleased to read more and more news stories and articles in the media about things going on here at TCC. I think we're doing a better job of getting our story out, and I know that's not easily done. I think a lot of people have worked on it, but it's working, and I think that's quite significant. Very, very pleased about that. I'll also report I'm encouraged by activities at the TCC Foundation. I think the foundation, the board is working hard. We had a long meeting late last week, and a lot of participation, a lot of ideas, a lot of direction, and the contract that this board approved a month or so ago to support the foundation, I think is really paying off, and I'm optimistic we're going to see growth and new results coming out of the foundation.
Thank you very much. This is a very active group, and they're very committed as well, so we're very fortunate to have them. Mr. Hornsby, is there anything you'd like to report on?
Not at this time.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Greenhill?
I don't have anything to report, but I did notice that Dr. LeBlanc's meetings that she's been having, which are phenomenally numerous, but there's one that's missing. She had a meeting with me at the Broadmoor back in July. Our families were sort of walking the walk, and all of a sudden there was Dr. LeBlanc and there was Bill Greenhill, and basically what happened was that we both hosted our families at the Broadmoor. So I wouldn't say it was a very nice conversation, but it was nothing official. But you should have added that to your phenomenal list.
To your list of meetings.
That's it.
Thank you for that, Mr. Greenhill. Okay. Dr. Morrison.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here with all of you tonight. I can thanks that we have our full board here tonight. Since our last board meeting in June, we know that a lot has happened. So I'm going to tell you about the 9th annual breakfast with our elders. It was August 5th, and most of you probably know that most of July I was under the weather. But with a team of community volunteers and volunteer staff people, we powered through to hold that event on the first Friday in August. And it was so wonderful. For those of you who are new to this dialogue, it is an event that's sponsored by Tarrant County College, Historic Rosedale Park, Neighborhood Association, and the Focus Network to honor and recognize selected community leaders whose legacy of commitment to education, leadership, and service has improved the lives of so many and moved forward the importance and the agenda of equity in the community. And especially for that event, we created the name WAVE, which stands for Wise, Accomplished, and Valued Elders. And this year we honored 13 citizens from 90-something down to 70. And it was very well received. Of course, I had to power through because I kept getting calls saying, when is the breakfast? So this was our third event that was virtual. So we're looking forward to celebrating the 10th anniversary live and in person, first Friday in August. And we're hoping to make it an event memorable to a 10th anniversary. So thank you. It heightens the awareness of TCC in the community. And of course, our most dedicated Chancellor made time in her schedule to host her remarks from South Campus, accompanied by South Campus President Dr. Lufkin. And she did a great job telling about TCC and how the community has and still benefits from the many programs that we have. So thank you, Dr. LeBlanc, for keeping us in your schedule, although it would have been very easy to have said can't do that. So we appreciate you, and we appreciate all of the staff who helped us power through for this community connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison, and that's a very good, very wonderful event that you have with Waves. We've been able to attend in the past, and it's just a wonderful way to acknowledge the work and the efforts of people that have been in our community for many years, but you also bring in a lot of young people, which is nice. I love
Yeah.
that.
That's a special part of it. We bring the scholar athletes from Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. They were also in attendance this year, and it always amazes them when they hear the accomplishments of the ordinary people that they see in their neighborhoods. And that was the whole thing, to reconnect the generations and to inspire and encourage young people and to let them know that there's wonderful people out there who are reporting to them. And I apologize, didn't get the photos over to our tech team. I may get those over and ask them to put, there are two people on there very special to me that I want to share those photos. And so I might have to get you to bring those up in a minute if I can find them and send them over, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. There was quite a few events going on over the past few months, and one in particular I want to congratulate and thank the Trinity River campus for hosting the Cuidado Casero Foundation Scholarship Dinner. It was very well attended. We had some, Dr. LeBlanc was there and her husband, and we also had Dr. Madison, and we also had some foundation board members that were attending as well. This particular event, these are not all of the graduates, but this particular event is these students are attending TCC. They issue scholarships to students that are bilingual that are pursuing nursing degrees. So these are students that are attending TCC. The young lady that's standing just left of Dr. Ume there, she spoke that night, and she has just completed her RN, and she'll be transferring to, I believe, Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken, to get her BSN. And she's very eloquent. She talked about her experience. She's one of 8, and she's just looking forward to being a nurse. And so we're very excited to be able to to host that particular event. And I believe they raised over close to $60,000 just that night in scholarships. It was a very, very well attended. And there was also the partnerships that we have with TCC. We also had some students from UNT that attended that are medical students, and they were there to support the event. And we had some students there from TCU as well. So it was very well attended. So thank you to everyone involved in that. The next event was, Fort Worth ISD trustee Roxanne Martinez visited our TREC facilities. There she is. Trustee Martinez attended Diamond Hill Jarvis High School, and she went away to college and to come back, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful representative for the district. She's very engaged with the community, and she was very excited about the opportunity to come and learn about the programs that we offer. And she said that gives her a chance to see how we can collaborate more together. And she's just very excited about the collaborations that we already have in place. But she had a great visit. I want to thank Dr. Madison and all his staff for hosting her. She had a wonderful, wonderful visit. She could not say enough about TCC and the wonderful things that we do here and the partnership that we have with Fort Worth ISD. And then lastly, I want to thank also the Trinity River campus for hosting the Juntos Se Puede event. It's a scholarship event, Together We Can, and that also is a scholarship for scholarships for students that live in particular zip codes. It's an underserved community, and the speaker for that night was State Representative Romero, and he talked about his experience going to TCC, working, and what TCC and education has done for him. And he really encouraged a lot of the students to pursue their dreams and to also, give back to the community. So I had an opportunity to welcome everyone, and it was wonderful to be there. So thank you again to TCC for your collaborations with these organizations as they give scholarships to students that are going to be attending our schools. So thanks for all of that. And there's Dr. Gonzalez, and we also had, I think there were some others there from the foundation board that attended as well, and Councilman Flores. So it was really, really well attended. And just lastly, I wanted to thank everyone, just on a personal note, for all of your notes and your kind wishes for myself and our family. The passing of my father, Michael Ayala, it was very comforting. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for those thoughts and your prayers. Okay, if there are no other activity reports, we're going to just move around a little bit the agenda, and we're going to do new staff introductions, if that's okay with you, Dr. LeBlanc, that will bring in your introduction of your staff members, please.
That'd be fine. Thank you. So, Dr. Blankenbaker, I believe you're introducing someone?
So thank you, Dr. LeBlanc, for the opportunity. Good afternoon, President Ayala and members of the Board of Trustees. I am pleased to announce the appointment of Dr. Thomas Sosa as the new Vice President for Academic Affairs at TCC Northwest Campus. Dr. Sosa began his career at the college, actually at Northwest, in 2013, where he served as a faculty member in the Life Science Department, including 4 years as department chair. He was the recipient, while he was at Northwest, of the Chancellor's Award for Exemplary Teaching in 2017. In 2019, Dr. Sosa was named Dean of Mathematics and Natural Sciences at the South Campus. So Dr. Sosa has also been actively engaged with TCC's 3 goals and 8 principles. Dr. Sosa was actually born in Austin and raised in the greater Houston area. After graduating from LaPorte High School, he enlisted in the Marine Corps. Concurrent with his time in the Marines, he attended Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas. Dr. Sosa received a BS in biology in 2001 and began graduate school. However, if you recall, in the early 2000s, his academic endeavor was temporarily put on hold when he was deployed to Iraq in 2003 in support of Operation Enduring Iraqi Freedom. Upon his return from deployment, Dr. Sosa completed graduate school and earned an MS in biochemistry from Texas State University. He further continued his graduate studies at the University of Texas at Austin, where he earned a PhD in cell and molecular biology. After a year of postdoctoral research, we were fortunate to hire Dr. Sosa here at Tarrant County College. Dr. Sosa assumed his new responsibilities this past spring as Vice President of Academic Affairs at Northwest. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Sosa, and I'm now going to invite him to make a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Blankenbaker, Trustee Ayala, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. LeBlanc, distinguished colleagues and guests. I am so deeply honored and excited to support the college in this new role at Northwest Campus. And I look forward to growing, leading, and collaborating with all of you as we work together to support our students, the college, and the community. So thank you.
Welcome. Welcome, Dr. Sosa. Glad to have you. Okay. Is there anything else, Dr. LeBlanc? Any others? Any other introductions? Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. We'll move on to item number 4. We have consideration and approval of the consent agenda. Again, thank you to Dr. LeBlanc and Ms. Alanis to spend time with, inviting the trustees to answer any specific questions. So some of these are on the consent agenda that we will just review here. Unless anyone has any questions, we'll just submit these as a group here for A, B, C, and D.
Move approval.
Okay, we have a motion from Dr. Morrison. Second from Ms. Dekine. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Right, we'll go on to item number 5, consideration and approval of individual action items. 5A, consideration of community response to the proposed redistricting maps posted on the district's website and scheduling of public town hall meetings to facilitate additional public input. And that's going to be Ms. Carol Bracken.
Good evening, President Ayala, trustees, Dr. LeBlanc. I'm Carol Bracken. I'm the General Counsel of the college. We're here again this evening to talk about redistricting. As you may recall, it's a couple of months ago now, we posted on the website for TCCD the proposed redistricting map that you had previously reviewed. As I had previously communicated to all of you, as of today, we've had one comment on that map, which has been sent to you. There have been no subsequent comments. Previously, the board had discussed wanting to set up some kind of public forum that people could attend to make public comment and to give input to this board on redistricting. Because of the rising COVID numbers and other public health concerns, we have a suggestion for you. Staff has a suggestion of having a public open meeting on September the 8th here in this council chamber after our work session so that we could invite members of the public to either attend in person, or we would also make it available for them to Zoom in as we used to do when we had that exemption from the governor. We can't offer that same option for you because that's no longer available, but members of the public could. I've spoken with Mr. Gates, and we could publicize this meeting on our various social media platforms. And of course, as it's an open meeting, we would also post it as we normally do. As part of that posting and as part of the social media, we would make sure that the public was made aware that how they could participate by Zoom if that's what they want to do. So our request for you is that you discuss what you'd like to do, and then give some staff direction on what you would like for us to set up. One last thing I will say, to the extent that you decide after this meeting that there is a reason to have additional meetings, we do have a couple of months when we can accommodate that and still remain on our schedule for getting our redistricting map finished up.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bracken. Any questions or clarifications or suggestions?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I would like to move to direct staff to post an open meeting to be held here in the boardroom on Thursday, September 8th at 6 p.m. for the purpose of soliciting community input on the proposed redistricting map currently posted on the TCCD's website, and further to direct staff to additionally advertise the meeting on TCCD's social media and to arrange for remote access to the meeting for the general public. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Morrison. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I have a second for discussion purposes only. I'd like to ask a question. I support this idea. Will our outside source that has been helping us with this, our advisors, will they be present?
Yes, sir.
And be able to answer some of the technical questions that we cannot answer?
Ms. McBride is not able to attend. Mr. Gaines is. Also, Matthew Cluck, he's the demographer. You might remember he came here.
Of course, I remember him.
He was actually a TCC student at the beginning of his career. He will be here, and I have asked him if this was something that you were interested in to be available to answer technical questions to the extent that they're asked, and even to make a very brief presentation on how the map was formulated.
Yes, so
in
that's-
case someone
yeah.
was interested in
So it
hearing
would
that.
be more than just, okay.
Yep.
There'll be a presentation of some kind maybe, and
Brief, but it'll be a recapitulation of the
Yeah.
information you've previously received.
Okay, okay.
Was,
Go ahead. Did you have?
was there any new information at the June meeting?
No,
No, ma'am.
there was no.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to amend that to, if we
no,
want to include
no,
that?
I
or you're okay?
just did it for discussion
Okay,
purposes
okay.
only. I didn't,
Okay,
I wanted to say something, so.
okay,
But I'm in favor of it, and we can vote if we want to.
okay. So we have a motion by Dr. Morrison and a second, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Greenhill, okay. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. that's
Thank you
fine.
very much.
Thank you very much for moving forward on that. Okay, we'll move into 5B, which is consideration and approval of the connectivity proposal with Verizon Wireless in the amount of $488,809.20, which is $40,734.10 monthly. Mr. Pacheco, do you mind introducing yourself, if you don't mind, and for those that are live streaming?
Yes, I'm
Thank
Bob
you.
Pacheco, the Chief Technology Officer here at Tarrant County College District.
I have a question before you start.
Yes, sir.
I celebrated my 76th birthday in August. What is a SIM card? Please.
It's funny, I actually
I'm
don't know
sorry.
I don't know what it stands for, the SIM part, but
Well, I know,
it's that
I-
little part that goes into a cell phone that it gives it the ability to like use Verizon or T-Mobile
Oh,
or
it's
something.
inside the phone?
Yes.
Okay, all
Or
right.
other devices that use it, which we'll be talking about here.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
And
that.
happy birthday. It's
I had
birthday
no idea
month.
what you were talking about.
His 6th birthday, is that what he said?
Not a day over 70. In 2020, because of COVID, TCC utilized her funding to acquire 2,000 tablets with T-Mobile cellular wireless SIM cards to provide our students a way to continue their schoolwork from home and other locations. TCC was bridging the digital divide for our students who did not have computers or wireless access from home. Since then, we've continued to bridge the digital divide by utilizing her funding to replace the tablets with more powerful and capable Microsoft Surface Gos that use those SIM cards. These devices are divided among all the campuses and are checked out by the students from the libraries for as long as they need while the students are attending TCC. In May of this year, T-Mobile's contract expired and they lost their Texas DIR certification a couple months later, which made them invalid for us working with them. Because of T-Mobile's change in status, we chose Verizon as the carrier of choice for the 2090 SIM cards that we need for Surface Gos and the student loaner programs and Trio that they support. Verizon offers several advantages: cheaper unlimited data plan with no contractual agreements, dedicated support representatives with 24/7 support to work with issues at the libraries as well as campus support services if there's problems with the SIM cards, and an on-site installation and activation of all 2,090 devices that have the SIM cards. We're excited to continue these valuable services to our students. And I offer any questions, answers.
I have a question. So it was paid for in the past, but now it's not going to be paid for, so it's
It's-
going to come out of the budget, or is it still going to come out of that money?
It's now operationalized, so it's coming out of the TCC budget.
Okay, so don't those students have the ability to go on campus and use computers?
They, actually, no, we have computer labs in certain
Right.
locations.
Right.
But these devices, they can use them anywhere. It's designed so that they can go anywhere.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but I'm saying we did those tablets because of COVID, because they couldn't come into the schools and use them. But they can come in on campus and use the computers on campus, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Any other further questions?
Mr. Greenhill, I Googled SIM,
I did too.
and
Oh, I
it
should have done
stands
that.
for Subscriber Identity Module. So I feel much smarter having done that, thanks to your question.
Thank you. With that, I make a motion to approve.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Greenhill. We have a second from Dr. Morrison. Okay.
Question.
You have a question? Okay.
When it talks about ability to terminate, is that
We have to
either
vote.
party or just us terminate the contract?
We're under no contract, so we have a 12-year agreement with them, but it doesn't hold any, we can terminate it if we want to. If we get a better deal, like what T-Mobile just comes back, they're now Texas DIR certified, and they come back with a cheaper price, we'll definitely look at that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and I'm sorry, we have a motion and a second, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, opposed by Ms. Wood. Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll go on to item 5C, consideration and approval of expenditure authority through cooperative agreements, state contracts, and interlocal agreements for various commodities and services for fiscal year 2022, 2023. Ms. Alanis,
Yeah, so this is something that we do annually.
introducing yourself.
Oh, I'm
and-
sorry,
That's
yes.
okay.
I'm
Thank
Susan
you.
Alanis. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the college.
Thank you.
And this is an exercise that we do every year at the beginning of the budget year to set spend authority for commodities that are bought sort of in a serial nature, but we spend in aggregate more than $100,000 for them. They're using cooperative and other interlocal agreements or state contracts for us to procure that. And so there's an attachment that outlines each of the different areas with the limits on each of those.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Alanis? Ms. Alanis, if there were any changes to any of these, those would be brought back to this board if we needed to amend any of these expenditures and they exceeded the
Yeah.
amount. that-
This only authorizes up to the cap, and if we were
Okay.
to need to exceed that, we would need to return to the
Okay.
board.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Greenhill, make a motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hornsby. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 5D, consideration and approval of Amendment 3 to agreement for professional design services with Perkins and Will to provide construction documents and administrations for Southeast Campus wayfinding and signage and add owner's-controlled contingency in the amount of $969,657. Ms.
Yes.
Alanis.
So we had originally scheduled a briefing on wayfinding, and you received those slides in your packet last week for the exercise that we've been going through for a period of time to improve the signage and information available to visitors to our campus. We'll get that rescheduled for you. This is related to that from the standpoint that Beck has been the firm that has done most of that work and developed all of the signage standards and so on. But because of the work that is happening at Southeast right now with construction, we are diverting the remainder of that contract for Southeast to Perkins and Will to finish the work on that as well as to manage the construction because it'll align more efficiently there. What that will do is increase the contract amount that we have with Perkins and Will. And we will have exhausted the owner's control contingency that's within their existing contract, and then also need to replenish that owner control contingency from the overall project budget. And so this is increasing the contract authority. It's not new money associated with the overall effort. It's intended to authorize staff to engage them for that purpose.
Any questions or comments on 5D? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Okay, Dr. Morrison,
Second.
second by Ms. Dekine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Consideration 5E, consideration and approval of purchase order to General Datatech LP to supply wireless access points and network switches for IILE classrooms renovations on Northeast and South campuses in the amount of $326,432.45. Ms. Alanis.
Yeah, so this is specifically for the technology that's included in the funding allocated for our annual upgrade of classrooms across the district that you approved earlier this year for design. This is a little bit differently presented than it has been in the past. Previously, we've used some of that cooperative contract authority that you approved a moment ago. However, what our effort this year, in order to improve transparency, is any individual projects that are over $100,000 rather than serial purchases, we're going to bring to you uniquely so that you can see it and have insight into the project costs. But this is included in the budget that was allocated for the classroom renovations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions or comments for Ms. Alanis? We'll entertain a motion, please, for 5E.
So moved.
So move, Mr. Greenhill.
Second.
Second, Dr. Morrison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make one more,
Yes, sir.
I'd like a comment on the previous matter. We have members of the staff of the Collegian here, and we just passed over something that would be very important to them, is wayfinding. And wayfinding means how to find rooms in the places where you're studying, because right now it's practically impossible. So that may be a point. Would you like to make an editorial statement about that somewhere? We're thinking about you.
And we'd be happy to share the slide deck, actually, that we
Yeah,
would have
show
covered
them the
last
slide
week and we'll
deck. It's
cover.
very
Yeah,
impressive.
Yeah, it explains it. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that comment. Thank you very much, Mr. Greenhill. Let's see, we are on 5F is in Frank. Consideration and approval of Amendment 4 for district-wide custodial services with ABM Texas General Services, Inc. in the amount of $5,652,367.63.
Yes, so this is the second renewal of our janitorial contract, and there is a CPI increase that's allowed contractually due to labor costs associated with that, but this is following an RFP that was done several years ago.
Okay, any questions or comments for Ms. Alanis?
Move approval.
Move approval from Dr. Morrison.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hornsby? Yes, Mr. Hornsby. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 5G, consideration approval of contract renewal with Fish Window Cleaning for the window washing services on South, Northeast, Northwest, and Southeast campuses, including all off-site locations, in the amount of $157,165.71. Ms. Alanis.
Yes, so this is our regular exercise in engaging firms for window washing. You'll see that there's two separate contracts, primarily because Trinity River, this campus, has some unique needs with the, with the towers, and so it's a skill set required of a particular vendor. So,
Okay, thank you. Any questions, clarifications?
Move approval.
Move approval from Dr. Morrison.
Second?
Second from Mr. Greenhill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 5H, consideration and approval of window washing services on Trinity River and Trinity River East Campus with Guardian Services in the amount of $192,232.50. Ms. Alanis.
actually, the same comments for that one, so
Okay.
they're related.
Okay, any questions or comments, clarifications?
approval.
Okay, that's Mr. Hornsby. Second by Ms. Wood. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Move on to 5I. And there is something at your desks there, at your, I believe that's pertinent to this, is 5I, J, and K. There's some clarifications that Ms. Alanis will go over as we go through this, but on item 5I, excuse me, let me move. Consideration and approval of agreement for procurement and installation of furniture with WRG LLC on Northwest Campus redevelopment project in the amount of $995,495.38. Alanis.
Yeah, so the exhibit that President Ayala referred you to is relevant to the next three items. And essentially, we did one bid with six different categories of furnishings that are required for the Northwest Campus redevelopment. And what you'll see is that we had the responses that are delineated in each column, and we were allowed to, by category, select the best pricing for that met the needs for the college. And so you'll see, for example, Business Interiors is listed first, and they're getting a $71,000 contract that is not coming to the board because it's less than $100,000. But we are awarding a portion of this to Seaman, II Spaces, and WRG. But wanted to explain how that process worked for this. But that's why you have three contracts before you this evening.
Any clarifications for Ms. Alanis? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Dr. Morrison.
Second?
Second by Mr. Greenhill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 5J, Consideration and approval of agreement for procurement and installation of furniture with GL Seaman and Company on Northwest Campus redevelopment project in the amount of $1,326,460.36. And
Move approval.
move for approval. Good. Okay, that's Mr. Barr. Second by Mr. Kine. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 5J, are we 5K? Consideration approval of agreement for procurement and installation of furniture with Intelligent Interiors, Inc. on Northwest Campus redevelopment project in the amount of $1,844,531.35.
Move approval.
That's Mr. Barr.
Second?
Second by Mr. Greenhill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 5L, consideration and approval of annual spend authority using cooperative agreements for landscaping and grounds at multiple locations with ABM Texas General Services, Inc. in the amount of $507,388.64.
So this is the annual agreement for landscaping services at all of our properties.
Just one question. Why is Mayo and Center on there?
Because we still own it until hopefully not this fall. If you
Oh,
read
we
the
still
paper.
own it?
Yes, we do. Yeah, if you read the paper yesterday, it looks very promising that the deal is going to
Oh, I
close
thought
with the
it
sale to
said-
Omni, but we
Oh,
do, in the
okay.
meantime, maintain that property.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we'll entertain a motion, please. Mr. Kine,
Second.
second by, who is that? Mr. Hornsby. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 5M, consideration and approval of TCC's FY 2021-2022 insurance renewals with McGriff, Sybils, and Williams, Inc., Roach, Howard, Smith, and Barton, and Higginbotham in the amount of $2,561,082.92.
And I actually need to offer a correction because we're talking about the upcoming fiscal year.
That's what I was thinking, that, I thought.
Yeah,
that
that's
seemed-
right, that's
You
correct.
retired.
So it should say, okay, fiscal year 2022, 2023.
That's correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and we go through this exercise every year. We work with brokers to help us get the best possible pricing. There are still some pressure points. We included a table that identifies where we've got some changes in the premiums that we're experiencing, and property losses across the state continue to be a challenge, even though we haven't experienced them, and then also cybersecurity. So those are the areas that continue to put pressure on this overall budget, but we have planned for it in the upcoming budget.
Ms. Alanis, how often do we put this out for bid to work with a different broker?
So you asked me that question yesterday, and I still need to talk to staff but we'll look at whether it's time to do
Okay.
that, to see when the brokers
Okay.
need to be updated.
All right, I think there is a cadence, I just didn't know
Yeah.
what the.
There
okay.
is. I
Okay.
just don't know the answer to it yet.
Okay, that's okay, yes. We have
So
another question.
the explanation in here of, is this essentially the same coverage and costing $247,000 more?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I will share, we look every year at whether there's opportunities to increase deductibles and affect premiums and make some decisions around that. And at this time, we have not recommended any changes in the current year.
Any other questions or comments? We'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Dr. Morrison,
Second.
second by Mr. Kine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 5N, consideration and approval of transfer of $5 million from operating fund to the interest and sinking fund for the purpose of increasing the fund balance in compliance with CC local requirement of 2 to 3 months of highest annual debt service. Ms. Alanis.
Yes, so you may recall a couple of years ago, the board adopted fund balance policies for all of our funds, including debt service, which was new at the time. And because of the recent debt issue, that amount that's required actually increases. And so we're recommending going ahead and making that transfer from the current year savings over to that fund to establish that and conform to the policy.
Any questions or clarifications?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Greenhill makes a motion. Second by Mr. Hornsby. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 5O, this is a resolution approving the operating budgets and capital budgets of the Tarrant County College District for the fiscal year beginning September 1st, 2022, and ending August 31st, 2023. Ms. Alanis.
Yeah, so we're actually going to go through a slide deck to catch everyone up since we've had sort of some conflicting meetings over the last couple of weeks. So, but I will point out that in front of you, you actually have a resolution. Oh, thank you. You have a revised resolution for the budget because it occurred to me that since the work session was canceled last week, we needed to correct the first whereas clause that indicated that that's when the budget had been presented. So you have that in front of you. So when we make a motion, we would ask that you hopefully move to approve as amended. So we'll talk real quickly just about the proposed budget and the action items and some summary information around all of that. We've reformatted this a little bit after the workshop that was held last week to provide clarity around how each fund is changing, and we've also added some information that hopefully is responsive to some individual questions that we have received. This is the Fund 10, which is our primary budget, and it reflects the revenue projections that we are recommending. And you'll note that the changes include nearly $7 million in the O&M tax, as well as we're increasing our projected tuition receipts by 10% based on the promising results with enrollment that we're seeing. This does presume the transfer of the penny over to debt service, which we'll see that in just a little while. And it also excludes if you look at the historical numbers there, we have not included the $88 million that you allocated mid-year for ERP so that you could get a true apples-to-apples comparison there about that work.
Just a point to get in the record, that is not an increase in tuition rates.
That is correct. Tuition rates are the same. So just to cover some of the components of that revenue here for a moment, the tax rate per $100, you can see that we're shifting that penny over, as I said, to the interest and sinking fund. So the overall tax rate is staying the same, but we're realigning it to reflect the debt service associated with the bond sale that we just recently completed this summer. I will remind the board that our commitment when we did the election for the bond program in 2019, the commitment was to retain the overall tax rate, and that was in anticipation of knowing that we were going to be absorbing a substantial commitment with the annual debt service associated with that. So to talk a little bit about the property tax rate, and this is responsive to some questions that we received. So we've given you information on the net taxable value, and I believe I sent you the entire tax roll so that you could take a look at that if you were interested. The top box explains just the O&M, so it's exclusive of those other parts of the budget on the top line, but then it also adds in the INS so that you can see the total tax collections overall are about $35.6 million last year. The vast majority of that is being applied to the INS needs to service that debt. We have had a lot of discussion about the no new revenue rate, which is lower than our 13-cent tax rate. And if we were to adopt that, the entire cost of it would be borne on the O&M side because our debt service is fixed, and that would be a reduction of about $24 million. The challenge with that, with all of the transition that we've been in recently, is that the impact on the affordability of raises and the staff changes and positions that we're recommending to start to provide some responsiveness to the student needs and relief to employees. Also, the intent is to preserve funding for the comp and class study that we're doing too, as we make some decisions about our philosophy around market competitiveness to make sure that we can start filling some of our vacancies and ensuring that we retain our team. On the horizon, we also know that we're going to be having some discussions in September about the facility master plan and the cash supplements that will be necessary to complete the bond program because of the inflationary pressures and so on. We will also, in a few years, have the final tranche of debt and potential planning for future bond programs as well. So those are some of the things out there on the horizon that causes us to recommend to maintain the current tax rate. So to give you a sense of how we compare to others, this is the adopted tax rate right now among our peer group, and you can see where we are. There are several community colleges that are, and these are not adopted yet. This is information we're able to gather based on the discussions that they're having with their boards as well. But you can see there are reductions that are planned in Dallas County as well as Austin Community College. You know, one of the things, even in my municipal career, comparing to those entities and their tax base is a very different thing than Tarrant County in terms of property values and how they're expanding there. So if you look at the tax bills associated with this in Austin, for example, their rate is applied to generally higher average residential values as well. The one thing I will say is the difference, and I didn't highlight this a minute ago, the difference between the no new revenue rate and the proposed tax rate is the equivalent of about $25 a year for the average home taxed value here in Tarrant County of $264,000 or so. It's about $9 per $100,000 home value. So it's a fairly nominal impact after absorbing the bond program. So we wanted to talk a little bit about tuition. This is our fourth year with tuition rates at $64. And so this shows where we compare. It's been very deliberate of this college to offer affordable tuition rates over the years. And we recommended maintaining that this year, especially as we're trying to recover some of the enrollment that we had lost. One of the things that we would recommend is later this fall in October or November, we come back and have a discussion around what that might need to look like for fall of next year, because we would need to make decisions around that now before enrollment started in the spring for the fall semester. And so even any changes right now would only have a partial year impact because they couldn't apply to the fall semester that's already underway. So what Dr. LeBlanc and I have committed to is to come back in October and November to have a discussion around what we need to plan for this going forward. When we originally met with you at the work session, we were proposing a 4% adjustment for most, and then a 3% adjustment for some of the more highly compensated people in the organization, including the cabinet and class code 10. As we've watched the other college districts, Collin and Dallas both recommended 5. Collin's making a similar split in terms of administrators, and the rest of the college by having a percentage lower as well. We are recommending going ahead and matching that at this point, recognizing that we're about to head into a period where we're doing a comp and class study and trying to be competitive in the market, and so we might as well go ahead and match that and not slip any further behind. And obviously we share a lot of employees across that ecosystem of the colleges in North Texas, and so we think that that is wise. The other thing, we've heard from several of you a discussion about some of the organizations that have offered retention bonuses and things like that. What we'd like to do is put some structure around what that might look like to potentially reward employees for some of the challenges they've faced in dealing with vacancies and things like that, and come back to you in October to have a conversation about what that might look like as well. I do have on here that each 1% of the compensation increase, if you just look at our total payroll, it would be about $1.9 million. That's a very conservative, high estimate, to be honest with you, because not everyone will be eligible. We've got vacant positions that it wouldn't apply to and that kind of thing. So we don't have the final number on what that, but that's our estimate that we've baked into our budget to be able to manage that. I should also mention the other thing that we're going to do is adjust the salary schedule upwards as well, so that entry level is reflective of the raises that have happened over the last couple of years, as well as this too, so that we can make sure that entry level is competitive. And I don't have it on a slide, but I'll also mention that starting this fall, we actually increased the minimum rate for students to be hired to $15 as well, because we're competing with every employer out there that's hiring at that level, and so we were having difficulty giving students an experience and filling some of our administrative needs on the campus as well, and so hopefully that will encourage students to get a good positive experience here. I think they fare well also in terms of completion by having employment on campus as well. So want to highlight some of the new expenditures in Fund 10 again. There were several sort of major themes that we've talked about. Recruitment is a big one, so we've expanded the student recruitment and outreach team. It was formerly called CACO. We've added team members there to be able to improve and expand their penetration into the market out there and assist new students in getting on board. We've also added educational partnership staff, not only on the campuses but also at the district level. As you know, our dual credit is 20% of our enrollment and growing, and as those partnerships with the school districts grow, we need to make sure that we're prepared to manage them effectively and grow those partnerships. In addition, in terms of retention, there's a pretty substantial investment there with advising and counseling. The intent there is to serve students more effectively and make sure that they're efficiently getting through the courses required. And one of the 3 GAP principals worked extensively on that to come up with what is best practice in terms of advisor to student ratios and so on to manage that more. In addition, it will hopefully provide some relief to staff who I know are working really hard as well, and allow them to spend more time with each student and be more effective in their roles, which I know they'll find fulfilling. We also added some administrators at the district level to further the one college goal and make sure that we're sort of managing across the different campuses and ensuring the same service levels for student affairs and some of the faculty affairs and those kinds of things are happening effectively. There's a variety of instructional support things that we're doing as well. With the expansion of the enrollment at Connect, we need more e-faculty coaches and instructional designers to support those faculty members who are teaching there. Another 3 GAP initiative that's emerged is Learning Commons, and we've added deans and directors. Part of the effort there is that we're aggregating supplemental instruction and some of the learning labs and the libraries under singular leadership so that they can be using all of those tools, including tutors, and figuring out where the resources need to be allocated to make sure the students are getting what they need. We've increased the academic equipment. We normally budget about $1 million a year for different types of, it can be microscopes, it can be specialty equipment for some of the different programs, but based on the requests that came in from the campus this year, we are recommending increasing that to $2 million, and that's managed out of the provost's office. And then we've also expanded the Organizational Excellence and Development, formerly known as, now I've lost it, CTL.
Well, the Center for Teaching
Center for
and
Teaching and
Learning
Learning.
is still a part of that. It's one component of it.
That's right.
So it's larger because we merged the professional development that was taking place in human resources and other areas of the college to that centralized place, aligned with the 3 goals and 8 principles and all the action items that have bubbled up from that. So
That's correct.
Susan, on this page, we're adding 77 employees, is what I calculate.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that, but I think the board would like to hear, I would like to hear a little more about what the student recruitment and outreach, how's that going to be accomplished? What's the game plan?
yes.
Likewise, on some of these other things, advising and counseling. Could at some point you do a briefing for us on what that really means? We're throwing, I have no problem with it, but we're throwing millions of dollars at this.
We absolutely can, and indeed, all of that is different aspects of work that was done in the principles, the student experience, and ISSM that we've merged into calling it recruitment and retention. But in the first part, where we have a team that will be working with the high schools, working with the community, and casting a wider net, that had a tiny group, and we needed to add more. So that is also part of the principal work we're operationalizing. The advisors and counselors, we are actually adding what we call career advisors. So in programs like T3, which has been hugely successful, when I ask what is the difference between what Tarrant County College is doing and what universities are doing, because Tarrant County retention rate for those students has been 83%, which is huge. And the difference is that we have career advisors working with the students from the very beginning, in addition to all the other support services. So we've trained the regular advisors to become career advisors, and the new positions are also career advisors as we expand our reach to the high schools and to the community. But we're happy to give a full presentation. I think that would be great.
Thank you.
All right, and so one of the other areas that we have recommended adding resources, and we've talked to you about this extensively, is in human resources. And part of this is actually adding positions to help us deal with the talent acquisition, as well as the comp and class plan that we mentioned. But we've also reorganized a little bit with Title IX moving to HR, since it's often closely linked with some of the employee Title IX issues and so on. So having that expertise in one place is important. And then we also moved the professional development out, as Dr. LeBlanc mentioned, to the organizational excellence and development. So realigning responsibilities to be more efficient and who's accountable and so on. We also are adding IT information management. We talked about this before in terms of how we manage the knowledge of the college. Also, it includes how we archive documents. Even what we've done to improve the archiving of board documents comes out of that team. In addition, throughout the last couple of years, the need for electronic forms and signatures and all those kinds of things, and how we manage that into records has become really apparent, and so making sure we've got resources to continue to support that. This is separate from, and we'll talk about this in just a minute, the resources that have been added. There's new positions as well as contract support added for ERP and IT. Frankly, they did ask for a couple of other positions this year, but our focus right now is on filling vacancies and making sure we've identified how we're going to meet the needs with resources with what they're serving today, and we'll reevaluate that later on to determine if they've got any additional needs beyond that. In addition, during the year, we modified finance in anticipation of ERP, as well as some succession planning with some long-term people who are retiring, and we also wanted to add some attention to payroll to reduce some risks around that. Technology, we talked a minute ago about the Wi-Fi access that you just passed. In addition, during HERF, we talked a lot about the VDI enhancement, about having portability throughout the buildings for all of us to be able to work, and the technology that's required for that, and had anticipated at that time when you approved those contracts, the increase to our operating budget once the HERF money went away. We're also adding subscription for e-discovery tools to add some efficiency to how we search for records, whether it's public information or whether it's litigation or whether it's investigations that might be happening in HR, those kinds of things. There's a fairly labor-intensive effort around that, and we've been piloting that this year and determined that it's effective. And there's also a variety of contracts that we have that we continue to need professional support in because of the scarcity of skill sets, or the fact that we don't need a full-time person on some of those things all the time. So Microsoft, Cisco, and then, of course, the colleague contract that is on your agenda, or the colleague support that is one of the contracts on your agenda tonight. Two other things that we plan to bring back to you probably in October is that we do need to be a little bit more deliberate about our security planning and our camera replacement, as well as how we're planning for that in the new facilities, and making sure that we're equipping them appropriately, not just with cameras, but with also building access practices. And so that goes beyond making sure that we've got card readers where they need to be. It's also having policies in place about how we collect and use data and that kind of thing. So we'll bring that back to you, along with recommendations around a capital investment to make sure that that's up to snuff, as well as some of the disaster recovery one-time costs associated with managing our disaster recovery program, but more to come on those two. So there was an organizational restructure also with the creation of the Analytics and Planning Division, and basically it's aggregating existing teams under leadership where we think that they'll have some synergy and work together. That includes our institutional research team that does all the the data crunching that we benefit from, and then also institutional effectiveness that has so much to do with our accreditation process. Grants, which can be strategic in terms of how we seek and use outside funding. And then finally, what we've already talked about, the organizational excellence and development team, because they can be part of that strategy about how we need to grow our workforce. And then I already mentioned the creation of the district divisions for faculty affairs and student affairs. And then finally, I'll mention the new ERP team. When we created the separate fund and the budget and the funding of $88 million to be able to seed that, we included funding for full-time staff resources to be assigned to the project. And some of those positions are new and will remain afterwards because they fill very specific gaps. There are about 8 of those. They include a testing lead, for example, since we've got so much more that'll be cloud-based into the future, and we need to make sure that that's a permanent role. A communications position that's associated with students later on. So there are some positions that will remain permanently, but many of them are filling that role, and we've got different strategies for backfilling their normal job, whether it's contract support, whether we're filling it with a full-time employee, but we know that there's enough churn in those roles that we'll be able to deal with that at the conclusion of the project and so on. But a significant investment there that's planned for as part of that project. But with all of this, we felt like it was important to summarize the number of positions, and I'll explain why this feels like a big number, but there's a number of things going on here. And I'll start with the column on the right about the part-time. You've heard me talk about our on-call workforce that was not necessarily clearly defined across the college in terms of how those positions were allocated, difficult to track, difficult for departments to know what authority they had to fill positions. Honestly, sort of the path of least resistance in many ways to add resources over time, but we wanted to add a lot more structure to that. And so we have transitioned many of those to regular part-time positions. So they are listed in the budget, and they can be part of our annual analysis to understand how we're using them, whether they're still needed, whether that's an important allocation of our resources, and so on. So that's a big step forward to add transparency to how we're paying that workforce. It's also related to that full-time number. So I've included the big areas that we've already talked about, but one of the things that we've spent more than a year working on is a lot of the administrative and coordinator support on campuses. And many of those activities were previously filled by on-calls. We've established a matrix for the college based on the number of staff they support, the number of students they support by area, to identify what the true resource need is. And we've, in many cases, created full-time positions to be filled to support those. They've sort of struggled along with us this year when we put a pause on filling any further on-calls. So they've been, we're in the process of allowing them to start restoring some of those resources. But one of our objectives also was to make sure that if it really is a full-time function of the college, it needs to be a full-time job with benefits. And if there is a part-time need that serves the need of the institution because of scheduling or demand or whatever, then those are appropriate to be part-time. But we wanted to reduce the instance of people working side by side doing the same job, that one had benefits and one did not. And so that's been a big exercise. And so I'll tell you that how this is funded, it's a couple of different ways. We had set aside in the last couple of budgets a pool of over $6 million for strategic initiatives, and those were intended to fund new positions that emerged from 3GAP. We have eliminated that fund this year in response to the fact that we've consumed those dollars with a lot of the positions that have been added as a result of all of that work. In addition, it's offset by that on-call spending. We were exceeding the budget on-calls and that pooled spending over time just because of how the need had grown. Now it's legitimizing it in the budget and reducing those pools that can be used for that purpose. And we're running a really tight ship around that now to make sure that we're managing those positions. The other thing I'll note is that I've got an asterisk on here that this is pending final reconciliation. I keep laughing with Dr. LeBlanc. I'm down to like 2 positions we can't reconcile on one campus, and I won't tell them which one it is. But anyway, we are finalizing this list, and we've almost got a final position list for the year. But our intent is to be able to come back to this this board every year with a budget and be really clear about the authorized number of positions and how that changes over time, and be much more deliberate about that human resource element than we've been able to be in the past. So moving on to the other funds, if there aren't any questions about that. You're familiar with the auxiliary fund, which is funded through a variety of non-taxpayer, non-tuition, non-state resources, including, and some of them serve as pass-throughs, so we get revenue that we pay back out for another reason. So the biggest example of that is the bookstore. The only increase we've got in this budget this year is related to the bookstore, and that's just reflective of actuals. And so we bill students and we pay Barnes & Noble. And so because the demand there has been higher, then we just want to reflect that there. We do have some planned use of the auxiliary fund balance. So this is unrelated to Fund 10, but for purposes of the things that we do subsidize. For example, the Easy Ride program is a good example, the bus passes that we've been funding. So the pay-as-you-go capital, this is just presented a little bit more clearly to show you the change from year over year, and we are making a substantial increase as we pick up momentum on the projects that are underway. And I will note that we had planned expenditures in the current year of just under $16 million. We actually every year right now transfer a full $24 million out of our operating budget into this fund and have been accruing a fund balance. And in September, when we come to you with the facility master plan, our goal is to start weaving together the bond funds, the cash that we've been accumulating for the purpose of cash-funded capital projects, and showing what that 5-year horizon looks like as we start to plan what's in, what's out on the project list, and into the future when there might be a need for a future bond program. So you'll be able to see a lot of that more clearly. But we've been consistently contributing to this each year, knowing that need is on the horizon. But we'll add a lot more structure to that once we adopt the capital plan after our discussion in September. So this is the ERP project that I mentioned, and so just to show you what the activity was in the current year, of course, we transferred in from the Fund 10 fund balance that's in excess of the reserve requirement of $88 million. Our intent is to be able to provide accountability for that overall project with what our expected cost for the whole thing is. And so we have some expenses this year associated with the consulting as well as the licensing that commenced in July, I believe, and we have proposed a budget for next year. You'll see the $3 million there for salaries. Those 28 positions that I mentioned to you, and we're still wrestling with that a little bit about the logistics of the best way to do that, but we will, they are recorded in Fund 10 as positions, but we will journal entry those costs over here so that we can keep track of them over time. And then debt service, of course, this is reflective of the $400 million sale that we just did. And so this was a big increase of $28 million that we added, and we adjusted the tax rate accordingly to cover that. And then the bond capital fund, of course, we plan, and we do this sort of on a cash flow basis because of some of the limitations about how our system operates as in basically operating funds versus capital funds. But this is our best estimation about how cash flow will work across the projects and the current schedules for all of those. And then this is just a summary that shows expenditures by fund. And so I don't total it at the bottom because that would overstate some of the transfers between the funds, but it gives you, and they all have sort of unique sources and so on. And so anyway, but this gives you a summary of how the budget is changing year over year. So the action items that, do you have any questions on the budget before?
I don't understand Fund 90 numbers. Could you talk about that just a second?
That's just the fund number that we assign to that particular function. So Fund 10 is our maintenance and operation. Or do you, oh, I'm sorry, do you mean you don't understand the dollar figures associated with it?
So in the current year, we've spent $133 million.
That's what we're estimating, yeah. And next year, we're proposing that it'll be $149 million.
Okay. Where do you recap where do we stand with regard to expenditure of bond funds?
So that we include each month in the bond report, and you will have a quarterly update on the bond program next month where they'll be able to show that. And actually out on our website, which we'll do an update, you've seen it already, of some of the tools that we've put out there on our website for you to be able to keep track of it. There's actually a chart out there that you can see as well about cash out the door, things under contract, that kind of thing that helps guide that. But this is completely to get us an appropriated budget authority in the upcoming year with the cash that we think that will flow related to the projects that are underway. Okay.
Madam,
Questions for Ms. Alanis before we go to action items? Do you have one, Dr.
I have a
Wilson?
question.
Go ahead.
Does the increase apply to part-time employees,
Yes.
on-call and adjuncts?
Yes. Okay, and so you'll have a couple of action items before you tonight, and the first one, of course, is the resolution approving the budget, which we've shared with you that we've got that one tweak to the whereas clauses to make it accurate. In addition, you will have the tax levy resolution, and Reginald's going to hand out something for me. And you've got versions with a couple of slight corrections that were at your table as well, so that'll need to be done as amended as well. And we've added some language based on, that's highlighted in there for you to see based on some questions that we received. This is a very confusing portion of the of the evening. So basically, we are over the no new revenue tax rate overall, which is fine. It means we just raised slightly more revenue from properties that were taxed last year this year. We are under the no new revenue rate for operations and maintenance because of the money that we moved over to the debt service. There's very confusing language that conflates those two issues in the statute, and it results in us having different language associated with your motion, which is in front of you, and I'll get to that in just a minute, and the language that's required in the resolution that's all in caps that says that we will be collecting more operations and maintenance money this year than we did last year, and that carries over to the notices that we do to the public. But what you have to do for your motion is reflective of the total tax rate, not the O&M that's part of the resolutions. So you have this language that is not logical, that says, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 13.017 per $100 of valuation, which is effectively a 7.9% increase in the tax rate. You are not being asked to increase the tax rate. This is statutorily required language that conflates revenue and rate and a number of other things. So that is required by law. That is the motion to approve the proposed tax rate. I've included some thoughts here about how the actual tax rate is not changing, and so you can certainly add that language if you so choose. What happens tonight is that you approve the proposed tax rate. We run an ad to publish a public hearing that will occur the date of your next normal board meeting is what we would recommend on the 15th. We'll do it at 6 o'clock, and immediately following, we'll do it as a separate hearing, and immediately following, we'll do your board meeting. And we will publish an ad before that reflecting the outcome of this meeting no sooner than 5 days before that public hearing. And so that's the process that will happen from here. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions,
I have a
comments?
comment.
Go ahead, Ms. Wood.
I have a problem with this. We have an all-time high in Tarrant County, well, all over the United States really, with inflation, a 40-year high. And we're asking people who are already struggling to pay more than they paid last year. Yes, the rate stays the same, but their appraisals went up, so they will pay more. This is especially concerning with our middle class, our lower income, and our fixed income residents. I think that if we stay with the no new revenue tax, we're still getting more money than we were last year. I think 12 million was what I saw. And we don't tax residents out of their homes. I want you to think about that. I think that we can trim our budget. I know I have before as a single mom, And I think if our residents are trimming their budgets, we should do the same.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Any other questions or comments for Ms. Alanis? Ms. Alanis, just if you could let us know, I know that the state funding has, since I joined the board, it's decreased over time. So congratulations for y'all for maintaining a budget for an extended period of time, but and make it a sustainable budget. But can you tell us what it was? And maybe Dr. Morrison can even tell us. I mean, what is that decreased? What was it at one point, and now what are we with the state funding?
It was 176% of the budget.
Yes, it was 178%, 76%. And it has gradually gone down,
Yes,
and there can be no assurance that
right.
it will go down some more. The legislature has done its thing with this, so.
Yeah. So, okay.
Ms. Elliott?
Yes.
I have it for 2018. The state of Texas put in 29%, and tuition was 21%, and local taxes were 50%. That's the year 2018.
Okay, that sounds about right. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments for Ms. Alanis? Okay, we will either have to discuss the question posed by Ms. Wood, or we would entertain
I
a
make a motion, I move that the property tax rate be increased. Nope.
Yes.
I think the item on the agenda first was the budget.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the
Yeah.
budget.
We'll
Yeah.
do that first. Okay. That would be the resolution approving the operating budgets and capital budgets. That's the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Of the Tarrant County College District for the fiscal year beginning September 1st, 2022 and ending August 31st, 2023. Do you need us to read this exactly as it's stated, Ms. Carroll, or?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we just need a resolution approving the budget first.
As amended.
As amended.
Yeah.
Could I ask a question first?
Certainly.
Thank you. One item that we've referred to over many meetings, just specific to the bond program, is price escalation, costs associated with delays due to supply chain, all of those kind of second and third order effects of COVID. To Ms. Wood's point, inflation not only affects and impacts taxpayers, it also impacts the college district. So I'm wondering if you are able to briefly touch on how inflation or some of those other escalating costs have also impacted the budget from last year to the proposed budget year.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So one of the things that we've talked about in the bond briefings is that we've lost, it was north of 25% of our buying power since 2019 when the program was approved. And so certainly planning for the cash requirements to, and the choices that'll be required as you work through the capital plan has been part of that. In addition, a number of our contracts, including things like our landscaping and our janitorial and so on, are often tied to CPI, which has been 9% this year. And so we add that in. And then probably most prominently as we try to manage our workforce, which is a significant portion of our spending, to remain competitive, we're obviously paying more to do that as well. And that's a direct impact of some of the pressures that we're seeing in the economy.
Thank you for that. Any other further questions or comments? Okay, we'll need to entertain a motion to approve the budget.
I make a motion to approve agenda item number 5O, the resolution approving the operating budgets and capital budgets for the fiscal year beginning September 1st,
And
2022.
as amended?
As amended.
As amended. Okay, so we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion. We need a second. That's Dr. Morrison. So we'll vote on the budget. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed by Ms. Wood. Okay, so the motion carries. Okay,
Yes.
Now.
Now the tax rate,
the tax rate,
the proposed tax rate.
the proposed tax rate. Okay, so we have some specific language that we have to, pertinent to that, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we'll need a motion unless there's any further discussion on that.
How, just help me to understand how it can be the same, but yet we're saying it's an increase.
Because the valuations increase, but the rate doesn't increase. The valuation increases, so we get more money, but the rate doesn't increase.
This language, to be honest with you, defies logic because you are not changing your rate. But the implication is that that the impact to the homeowner who is being taxed on a higher valuation is they will be paying more. This language confuses that deeply, but we are required by law to do it.
And so that's how I would explain it to the 80-year-old person that has a house, that the law requires us to do it.
The
Say it
law
like that.
requires this language even though you are not raising the tax rate.
Okay.
We did this 2 years ago, and it was painful then too. So, but to that point, certainly if you have any of the comments that we've offered here that you'd like to make part of the record, you certainly could.
What I have found is that my constituents are concerned because their tax bill goes up every year. And we need to be leaders in Tarrant County because other cities are watching what we do. And we don't adopt the no new revenue tax rate. Maybe they'll follow. We're leaders. Why can't we do that? We're still going to be bringing in $12 million more than we brought in last year because of the appraisals. So their bills are going to go up.
So to clarify, to adopt the no new revenue rate would reduce our proposed budget by $23 million.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, right now, we are, between O&M and INS, we're increasing the tax revenue by $35 million. So that's the $12 million that she's referring to. But remember that the entire impact happens to the O&M side because our debt service is set.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion. Okay.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.13017 per $100 of valuation, which is effectively a 7.9% increase in the tax rate. And if the motion is seconded, I would like to make some comments.
Okay.
I will
We
second
have a
it.
motion, and we have a second. Mr. Barr made the motion and seconded by Mr. Greenhill. And you wanted to make some comments? Okay.
This, the language that I've just read and the language of the motion is statutorily prescribed language related to the no new revenue rate calculations required by TCC and taxing authorities. The actual proposed rate is the same as the actual current rate for the prior year. That's the 0.13017 tax rate. The proposed rate honors the commitment made to voters for the 2019 bond program to absorb the new debt service without raising the overall rate. That's the commitment we made, and we're honoring that commitment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barr. So we have a motion for Mr. Barr and a second for Mr. Greenhill. So we'll go ahead and vote on that. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, opposed by Ms. Wood. Okay, the motion carries. Okay. Thank you for that Ms. Alanis, did you have some further
Well, I was
comments?
just going to thank Ms. Annalise and the staff. You've got a lot of people that have worked on this, and it's we get to see the result of it, but it's I would guess hundreds of hours of work that's gone into it. I think you have a number of people here who participated in that work, and you might, if you
Yes.
would, acknowledge their presence and ask them to, at the very least, stand up.
That's right. So Ronnie Watson has been leading that team this year, and Shelley Birch is not here with us tonight, but she's certainly a big part of it. The other thing I'll point out is that the campuses do a whole lot of work starting in the spring as well, identifying what their needs are going to be too. So it is definitely a team sport.
Well, I would also add that I, for one, appreciate the fact that the board has been briefed on this material in far more detail than we had last year, and an incredible amount of difference as compared to 2 or 3 years ago. I think that's significant. Takes a lot of staff time to do that. It takes some board time to do it, but I think it enables us to perform our jobs as trustees much more effectively. We
happy to do it.
appreciate that.
Of course.
Thank you for those comments, and I know that the questions that were posed by the different trustees when you were having your meetings with Dr. LeBlanc and Ms. Alanis was very helpful in this preparation, I think, as well, as far as details and the presentations and questions. I think that really helped us to have a very robust discussion, so thank you for that as well.
Absolutely.
And I have one final comment. I echo the thanks on the very hard work that went into presenting the level of detail on these numbers. I know that we asked for numbers crunched and recrunched to fit the ways that make the most sense to us. I think that an important takeaway for me in this whole process is that there is a really important piece to the full picture of how the college district is funded, and that also includes the level of state funding and an understanding of the complete context on that, because I think that we can talk about things in an insular manner in terms of county funding, but unless we fully understand comparative tax bases, unless we fully understand the diminishing contributions from the state legislature that directly impacts our ability to fund the college district, I don't know that we can truly say that we're not acting in best interest of the college district by reacting to the financial pressures at play. So that might be something that we could talk about, just kind of a refresher on over time what the state's portion has looked like in terms of contributing to the college district and the impacts and the decisions that has caused the district to make in terms of funding our own budgets.
Of course.
Thank you for that as well. It's a very good point, Mr. Kine. In talking to Ms. Alanis, she did say that with the implementation of the tools that we're going to be implementing, this the whole budget process should be a little bit more streamlined, and I think we'll be able to get a clearer picture throughout the year of what that looks like, so that we can carefully monitor it and make sure that we have a sustainable budget and we can look at these things. And but I appreciate everybody, and I appreciate your comments too, because this does take a lot of effort on everyone's part. So, and thank you for the clarifications around the resources in particular, about how those were, because that was a concern. And we did not, if I remember correctly, we did not. There were no layoffs during COVID, where some colleges had experienced that. And isn't that correct, Dr. LeBlanc? So
That's correct. We worked very hard to ensure that people kept their jobs.
right.
And the majority of the colleges had to let people go. And we were able to maintain the same level. We have analyzed every position every way you can think of, and the presidents are nodding, because we review the data every which way, 99 ways, before making a decision about filling a position. So we're doing the due diligence, and that's important to mention. We're also being more transparent than ever before, because when you had personnel lumped in budget areas where you couldn't monitor them, and now we will be able to monitor them much better. So that's taken a lot of extra effort, certainly on the part of really all the stakeholders. Certainly Susan's team have worked diligently in aligning it. It has been painful because we're becoming more disciplined than we were before, but all of it is in an effort to be good stewards. We also, when we talk about the budget, seldom take time to discuss the return on investment and the critical role that Tarrant County College plays in the economic development of the entire region, because we are now key players not only in Tarrant County but all of North Texas. And we are educating the current and the future workforce. And just as one example, 55% of the students that graduated from Tarrant County College come from disadvantaged families. Now, these are individuals that might not have gone to college, that are finishing at Tarrant County College. They're either continuing at a university or they're going straight to work. Either way, they're becoming taxpayers and they're contributing to the economy. And it's not just them, they bring their siblings along. So when you look at the students, for example, in early college high school, they're making sure their brothers and sisters are joining in getting an education at Tarrant County College. So we are huge, and we make an enormous impact on the whole economy of Tarrant County and the North Texas region, and that should be discussed along with this budget.
Thank you for that, Dr. LeBlanc. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on and continue with our agenda. What item are we on?
5Q.
5Q, okay. Consideration, we don't want to go back and do these. Okay, consideration and approval of the letter of no objection to the Foreign Trade Zone Board allowing to the FTZ designation through the Alliance Corridor, FTZ number 196 for Prairie Industry Holdings, d.b.a, are doing business as Truvent, located at 280 South Intermodal Parkway in Haslett, Texas. Ms. Alanis.
Yes, and so we actually have some folks online that'll do a presentation for you to let you know a little bit more about this project, and then I'll return.
Good evening. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. Madam President, to the Board of Trustees, thanks for the opportunity for us to be with you. My name is Joshua Griffith. I'm with Hillwood, and those that might not be familiar, we're the developer of Alliance, Texas, up in North Fort Worth, and across other jurisdictions as well. But we have a strong presence in Tarrant County. Our role is representing Alliance Corridor, Inc. Alliance Corridor, Inc. is the grantee for Foreign Trade Zone 196, and I'll walk through what that role actually means with the Foreign Trade Zone. Also want to mention we have Maddie Kruger with QAD, and she is representing Prairie Industries Holdings, d.b.a. Trevon. She's with us as well. So I won't take too much of your time. I'm not sure how familiar those on the board are familiar with the foreign trade zones, but I did want to show a couple of slides. So let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen okay?
I think so.
Yes.
All right. We should be experts in screen sharing in remote meetings, and I apologize I couldn't be with you in person tonight. I was actually downtown last week and got the message that it had been postponed. So I'm with you in spirit and remote here tonight. As I mentioned, Alliance Corridor Inc. is the grantee for Foreign Trade Zone 196. A foreign trade zone was established in the 1930s to facilitate economic development in the country, to get the economy back up and running. What a foreign trade zone is, it's essentially considered outside U.S. Customs territory. So foreign and domestic merchandise can be stored, manufactured, altered, and even processed. As I mentioned before, to facilitate the economy, it was established to create jobs and facilitate international trade. So some of the key organizations within a foreign trade zone, I mentioned earlier the grantee. So the way it's structured is with the Foreign Trade Zones Board. That's in Washington, D.C., and they are the regulators, if you will, of the program. CBP, Customs and Borders Protection, is the boots on the ground implementing the rules and regulations on behalf of the board. And the grantee, we serve as the entity, call it gatekeepers between companies that want to utilize the Foreign Trade Zone program. And our goal is to facilitate the relationship with the local jurisdictions, marketing the community, the region for economic development, as well as liaison with the Foreign Trade Zones Board. And then you get into the operators and the users. These are the companies that are actually present, operating in these warehouses. And then that's the user, and the operator might be the ones that's actually doing the administrative work of the day-to-day foreign trade zone filings. So why am I sharing this with you today? We'll get into the ask here in a moment with what's on the agenda, but just so everyone understands, foreign trade zones, they attract new jobs, they retain existing jobs, they increase corporate investment. As an example, if a organization or a company or corporation is looking to plant their roots in a new state, a new metroplex, whatever region it might be, the foreign trade zone offers a platform that's attractive to them to grow their organization. And with new development, in some cases, if there's no facility there, new infrastructure improvements are required. If there's an expansion, obviously there's infrastructure improvements that may come with that. And with new organizations coming to town, you've got increased employment, which that facilitates the increased purchases of local goods and services. If a building is not there, you're looking at an opportunity for additional property tax, and then it gives you a competitive advantage to other communities that may not have this program. So I'm going to try to zoom in here so y'all can see where we're talking about. Alliance Corridor Inc., the Foreign Trade Zone 196, has essentially a geographic area. We call this the ASF. This is the Alternative Site Framework. And this is what we're talking about with you tonight. So I don't know if y'all can see this very well, but this represents the Alliance Fort Worth Airport. And as you go further down, this is 820. And then this represents State Highway 170. Prairie Industries Holdings, d.b.a. Trevant, their site location is right here. So those familiar with the North Fort Worth area, the Hazlet area, the first Amazon facility that came to the area in this part of the world is positioned right about where my cursor is located. And then Hazlet Parkway will eventually extend out this direction. So just wanted to share that so y'all have an idea of where this is located. And then I've got another map here with an aerial. As I mentioned before, you've got the airport, you've got the intermodal hub here, which is where the rail yard is located. And as you can tell, I mentioned the Hazlet facility earlier. That's where the cursor is here. And this highlighted overlay represents the location for the Trevant facility. Okay, so essentially the ask with Tarrant County College, in order for Trevon to be able to pursue the application with the Foreign Trade Zones Board, we are required to have what we call letters of no objection from the taxing jurisdictions. And the reason that's important is because it affects your ad valorem tax. One of the benefits of a customer utilizing the Foreign Trade Zone program is that they have an exemption from ad valorem tax on the inventory. And this isn't the real estate property tax, this is the inventory tax. So that's what we are asking for. Many of you in the room may have already seen these before. I think we were recently, it may have been 6 to 9 months ago, TTI, they're one of our large foreign trade zone users, just went through an expansion after we got approval from all of our taxing jurisdictions. So just wanted to share that overview with you. I probably exceeded my time, but we appreciate your consideration. And between myself and Maddie, who's on the phone as well, we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Have other jurisdictions already given you these letters, this letter?
We do not have one yet, but we're in the process of securing those as we speak.
Okay.
In fact, the Commissioner's Court with Tarrant County, they're in session on the 30th, and
Okay.
we're on the agenda for that.
How many, you mentioned one letter that we've already given before, or are there others? Or do you know?
Oh, there are. Yes, sir.
Oh,
It
yeah,
depends
we've
on-
been through this before.
Right. And I haven't actually had the opportunity to
That's
present
okay.
this personally with you guys, so I just thought it'd be great for a refresher. We currently have, in Foreign Trade Zone 196, we have 10 active Foreign Trade Zone users. So I can speak for the Alliance area alone, there's about 500 companies up here. So you can imagine it's a small percentage of folks that actually utilize the program. Sometimes it makes sense for them, sometimes it does not, and those do not pursue it.
Yeah.
But Texas in general is the leading state for foreign trade zone users, and we're proud of that. And a lot of that has to do with the policies in place in the state of Texas that, provide a runway for economic development.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Does anyone else have any questions or clarifications? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion
Okay,
to approve.
all right, that's Mr. Greenhill.
Second.
Oh,
Second
there
by-
he is.
Did you see it? Oh, there he is. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
we have a motion and a second by, was that you, Dr. Morrison? Yes. Okay. Any other further discussion? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, thank you, Mr. Griffith.
Thank you.
Very much. Thanks for your time and consideration.
Have a good afternoon or evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Ms.
No.
Eloise? Okay. All right. But you wanted to talk
here
more
for the
about
next
it.
one, yes.
Okay. 5R, consideration and approval of 3-year contract with the Tax Assessor Collector through tax year 2024 in an annual amount up to $2 million. Ms. Eloise.
So as you are well aware, for efficiency's sake, the taxing jurisdictions here contract with the Tarrant Tax Assessor Collector to perform that function for us. This is a new 3-year agreement. We're asking for an annual cap of $2 million. Our current expenditure is about 1.7. It's based on a per taxable unit fee, and so it's calculated on their behalf, but this allows us to continue that relationship for the next 3 years.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Eloise?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Just as a matter of education for me, are there alternatives?
No. Doing it
No, that's
ourselves,
a
I
great
suppose, and we
question.
don't want to do that.
That's a great question. It is, yeah, just to make sure. That's a very good question. Yeah. Okay, if we had a motion, was that you, Dr. Morris? Did you make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. We need a second. Second by Ms. Wood. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 5S, consideration and approval of the purchase of an automated media preparator. I don't know what, preparator? I don't know. I guess that's what that word is. And plate pouring system for life science labs from K&R Technologies, LLC, d.b.a, Microbiology International of a total cost of $448,576. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Do you
Good
mind
evening.
introducing yourself for those that are live streaming, please?
Happy to do so.
Thank you.
Hi, Kenya Ayers-Palmore, President, Tarrant County College's Northeast Campus.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, to the members of the board, and to our esteemed Chancellor. It is my pleasure to present on behalf of our Biology ACT, representing biology departments all across the district. And we have a proposed action to consider and approve a really unique purchase for an automated media preparator and plate pouring system. I want to acknowledge and thank the biology faculty from across the district who worked on this, Dean Charlene Cole, who serves as their Dean Liaison, and the members of the faculty and labs who are represented here tonight. Dr. Jeanette Boylan and Holly Ryder. Jeanette Boylan is with the Trinity River campus, and Holly Ryder with our Northwest campus. So thanks to them and their colleagues for their work on this. So you have in front of you the recommendation, and it outlines what these devices do. So I thought I would talk instead very briefly about some things that are important to note in the documentation. One is that we really are hoping to help our students have the best equipment, the most effective equipment that prepares them to move on either to the workforce or to a four-year institution. And so this equipment would allow that to happen. It would reduce waste, and it would save time for our lab technicians. We also draw note on to the estimated quantities. What's important to note is that while we have a total amount, the quantities are different for each of our campuses, and that's because the needs are different. Each campus is asking for a media plate pourer, and yet Trinity River, Northeast, and Northwest campuses all have a requirement for the media prep, and there are water systems or water filtration systems for Trinity River and Northeast campus, and then for all campuses, what's included in the total would be delivery, calibration, installation, and training for production. Lastly, I will note what I've heard this esteemed body ask frequently, which is what is the amount of minority and women business participation. And so I'll share with you that it is at 0%. And the reason for that is because this is such a highly unique type of business and unique item that we only had a single provider that bid for this item and for this contract. And with that, I will open up for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or clarifications? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion. Okay, Dr. Morrison. Second by Mr., was that Greenhill or Hornsby? Mr. Hornsby. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you so much.
I just want to say, I want to come see that when it comes in.
Please do. Absolutely. Thank you.
That's right. Okay, we have the monthly financial report, item 6. Ms. Alanis, we should just give you a chair there so you can sit. Okay.
Yes, so you've got the financial report in your packet, and I would like to comment a little bit on what President Ayala said a little while ago, that through this budget process, one of the things that we've been working on is building a tool that allows us to be a little bit more descriptive of how we're performing against budget by functional area and areas of accountability. And part of the challenge of the documents that you have in front of you is that they're formatted in such a way that they conform to what the state requires, but they also sort of lose their connection to the functional areas of the college and each one of the cabinet members who are responsible for a certain budget area. And I think it's important for us to be able to look at the data in that way, because overspending and underspending both tell a story that you need to look at. So we are working on a tool that will allow us to do that on a more routine basis that we hope to bring back to you in October or November. So hopefully that format will improve. We're still on track this year. We're at 94.3% of our revenue projections through the end of July, and, or I'm sorry, it's actually more than that. It's the next one, yeah. Sorry, I've got June in front of me. Anyway, we are on track to hit our target with income, including close to target with our tuition, and performing slightly ahead with our tax receipts. And then you'll note that the total expenses, one of the things that's reflected there is the transfer over of the ERP project fund that's hitting the expenses there. That'll be resolved in the way they present the financial statements at year end, but that's what's showing an overage there right now. We do anticipate that there will be savings at year end, primarily due to salary savings associated with vacant positions.
Okay.
Okay, and then moving right along to the investment report. I won't dwell on this other than to point out that there is a yield with this particular report at 1.45%, which is certainly better than we were performing previously before we had some managed services here. One of the things I'll mention is that we have completed the transition of our portfolio as planned earlier this year. However, now that we have significant bond proceeds on hand, we are going to come back to you next month, and PFM will also provide a little bit more detailed explanation of how our investments are doing and do their quarterly comparison to benchmarks so that we understand how PFM is performing for us in managing those assets. But we will also ask you to, we had put some guardrails around how much could be on deposit with them for that managed investment with the bond proceeds. Now with the new sale, we need to open that up a little bit more to reflect what our cash flow is going to be over the next 3 years as we complete the bond program. So we'll be bringing that back to you, and then they'll be able to answer all your questions more robustly about how our portfolio is doing. And that is it.
Any questions or clarifications for Ms. Elenise? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elenise. We'll go on to the Interim Chancellor's report. Dr. LeBlanc.
So, thank you. We've had a very busy summer, and all of the campuses, I hope you take time to review the accolades, because all of them were busy with not only offering classes and engaging with their students, but also having a little fun, and that's always important as well. I do want to point out that we are in partnership with Dallas College, UTA, and other universities in the region, and just obtained a biotech grant. On August the 4th, we had a press conference to announce the biotech grant, which is a significant $8.8 million. It's very exciting because it is a true partnership with business and industry and all of the post-secondary institutions. It's going to be really a wonderful sea change for all of us. I also participated in the back-to-school roundup on the South Campus. I know other campuses have similar opportunities. What's significant about the back-to-school roundup, it is with Fort Worth ISD, and it's a whole community endeavor. The commissioners show up, and it's like a big, giant carnival. And although it was about 110, Dan, would you say? It was toasty. It didn't seem to bother people. There were just, they had these ice chests next to them, and the party continued. We drove by in the afternoon, and all the cars, all the people were still there. So it was a big success, and I appreciated being a part of that. We also had, I attended the Arlington State of the District function, and that was, so the Arlington community enjoys getting together, and they are huge supporters of education, and the partnership with us, with the public schools, and UTA is huge, and it gave us an opportunity to connect with those individuals as well. Yesterday, we had the employee convocation, formerly known as the Chancellor's Breakfast, and it was well attended on every campus. It was a hybrid. We used to have this big, giant event that had to take place at a convention center, and we've gotten to the point where even that's being a challenge. So the faculty particularly voted to have a hybrid where they could celebrate on their campuses. And with the savings, allowed us to have a little special, a more special memento, which you have one at your chair. And all of our employees received one of those. So that was successful. The entire cabinet had an opportunity to give presentations, and the whole day was a professional development day. The presidents and Reginald are signing autographs right after this board meeting. They were a big hit, and we may invite them back next year. I don't know. So anyway, and then Fort Worth ISD schools make Best High Schools national lists, and several of our early college high schools were there. And so I'm not surprised. Our faculty, our staff, everyone has just done a phenomenal job of taking the students where they are, where they started, and on to becoming very successful college students. All of the universities want them, and so I wasn't surprised that this took place. I mentioned earlier the T3. We knew it would be a success, but not as successful as we're seeing it today. So last year we had about 135 students enroll in T3. This year it's over 408. And the other piece was what I mentioned earlier, that the persistence rate is quite high. So from fall to spring, it was 83%, and then from spring to this fall, it's 83% persistence. So those students like it at Tarrant County College. They're staying, and they will finish, and that's the good news. So,
What are you doing tomorrow? You're going to the Fort Worth Club to do what?
yes. Yes. Well, why do I know all the data? Because I will be giving a presentation at the Downtown Rotary
tomorrow.
meeting. Yes. I will be part of a panel, actually. And so we will have...
Wasn't quite. It's a really neat panel of people.
It's exciting. David Sines from Fort Worth ISD will be presenting on behalf of that district. I will be presenting on behalf of Tarrant County College, and then Dr. Hurley will be presenting on behalf of Tarleton. What's significant there is that we're nonpartisan. We support all of the public schools. We support all of the post-secondary institutions, and we're really the liaison that allows the students to make a seamless transition from public schools on to universities or the workforce. And so it's very exciting, and I hope to share that with the business community, because again, we don't do enough to inform the business community of how critical and important we are in the economic development. Also, Trustee Barr mentioned some of the articles in the Fort Worth report, and those are quite exciting. There is an article on the T3 partnership. Could Fort Worth boost economic development prospects with high school students? And we're key players in that. It was a very nice article about us. There is another article. They talk about Irving ISD, but really It's to highlight the PTECs that we've had in place. Irving is just getting started, and we've been in that arena for a few years already. And that's in the technical programs. That's increasing, and Bill Coppola had dark hair when this started, and now there's hair missing. But anyway, he's supporting this endeavor. He's the champion that's supporting this endeavor, and we all are. So, the other are the Tarrant County College's new approach to degrees, and that's again the career pathways, and that was an excellent article that highlighted the good work that we are doing. And then finally, our culinary arts program was highlighted as one of the top schools in Texas. And I think it's the second best. So those are all examples of some of what the media is taking notice of. And there's a lot more that we plan to do in the near future. And so we're really pleased with our graduates. We're pleased with the hard work that our faculty, our staff, our presidents are doing every single day. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dr. Coppola, my daughter was very interested in the culinary arts, so you may be seeing her over there.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that update. Okay, let's see. We have a closed session item. Is that correct?
I think that before we go,
Yes.
I think they have my pictures.
They
of the
do?
breakfast.
Okay.
Did you have those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, and let me tell you why it's important to share this. First of all, we're taking nominations for the 10th anniversary, 2023.
Oh my
And as quiet as it's kept, he's so modest. Mr. Barr was actually honored last year because Mr. Barr has been serving this community since he attended all of those town hall meetings to get TCC started when his father was mayor. So he's been wonderful. This lady was a child care provider, certified through Catholic Charities from the 1930s, and she is a stalwart still in the community, and so she has not only launched many young children through their early years, but through her excellent child care, she allowed a lot of people, mothers and fathers, to pursue their careers. But going back to her, she had a daughter who retired from TCC, and her son, she has a grandson who's a current faculty member, Freddie Standifer, with TCC. This is Miss Shirley Bolden. She completed 49 years of service with Fort Worth ISD before retiring. She started as a clerk at I.M. Terrell High School, and she retired after 49 years as secretary to the superintendent. She was the first black or brown secretary at the Fort Worth ISD Administration Building. In addition to that, for 35 years, she taught at the Dunbar Community Evening School, computer secretarial skills. And finally, there's one more, Steve Gay. Steve graduated from UNT, and he said other people's definition of success just didn't match him. And so he decided to live a life of significance. And throughout his career as an educator, he tried to make sure that every day the things that he did brought significance to his life and the life of others. And so he had many administrative positions. I was most proud of his work starting the first alternative school for middle school students, where he really developed a learning environment for the students. After retiring, he came back to the Dunbar community to work to build the success of the schools in the Dunbar pyramid, and he's still working there as a volunteer. So that's just an example of the kinds of people that we honored. We had a world-class boxer who he says he's a lifetime TCC student. And so if you have other people in the community that have that connection that we can use to encourage young people and also to inform some of us, we're happy to take nominations. So thank you for allowing me to share those. It's just been a wonderful program connecting the generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Thank you for sharing those with us. We do have a closed session, so we'll take just a very short break. But the TCCD Board will conduct a closed meeting as authorized by Section 551 of the Texas Government Code in order to seek the advice of its attorneys, deliberate real property matters, deliberate personnel matters, or to deliberate security devices or security audits. And we will be back shortly. The board will now reconvene in open session, and the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved from Dr.
Second.
Morrison, and second for Mr. Hornsby. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, and have a great start of the new school year. Thank you.